This page is the front cover of a magazine issue from September 1999, highlighting Nintendo's 64 games. The main focus seems to be on Ogre Battle 64 and Super Robot Wars 64, alongside the highly anticipated Pocket Monsters Gold and Silver, though this is for the Game Boy and Game Boy Color and not N64. Featured characters from these games are prominently displayed. Other N64 titles mentioned include Donkey Kong 64, Super Mario RPG 2, which was never released outside of Japan, Kirby 64, The Crystal Shards, Mario Golf 64, and GQ J-League Perfect Striker 2, which was also not released outside of Japan. There are also smaller mentions of Fire Emblem, Thracia 776, a Super Famicom game, Star Wars Episode 1, Racer, and Hayate de Go 64. This page is the magazine's table of contents for the September issue. It lists the different sections and articles within, including strategy guides and new game previews. Featured games include Ogre Battle 64, Person of Lordly Caliber, Mario Golf 64, and GQ J-League 1999, Perfect Striker 2. Strategy guides are listed for games like Shadowgate 64, Trials of the Four Towers, and Star Wars Episode 1, Racer. New title previews include Fire Emblem, Thracia 776, Pocket Monsters Gold and Silver, and Custom Robo. The page also includes regular magazine features and an index listing all games mentioned with page numbers. An explanation of game genre abbreviations is provided for reference. This page showcases several Game Boy Color games that are featured within the magazine. There are 4 games highlighted, each with a promotional box and description. Firstly, there's Tsuri Sensei 2, Fishing Master 2, described as a fishing RPG, where players aim to become a fishing master, catching various fish and participating in tournaments. Next is Dino Breeder 3, Gaia Revival, the third entry in the Dino Breeder series, where players raise dinosaurs, breed them, and battle. This installment focuses on saving the Earth from Gaia. Animal Breeder 3 allows players to raise various animals as pets, explore the world, and even create their own animal park and arrange marriages for their pets. Finally, Kanji Boy is an educational game focused on learning kanji, Japanese characters, for different grade levels, offering mini-games and character interaction to make learning fun. All games are advertised as available for 4,800 yen, excluding tax, except for Dungeon Savior, which is listed as a 99 winter release for the same price. Dungeon Savior is described as a dungeon RPG, where players create dungeons, monsters, and aim to conquer all 100 types of dungeons. This page is dedicated to the game Donkey Kong 64 for the Nintendo 64. It announces this as a highly anticipated new title from Nintendo, a 3D action game where players can fly, bounce, and run through stages, aiming for the goal. The game allows players to control 5 different characters, each with unique abilities, to clear stages. The Check section emphasizes the volume and depth of the 3D action gameplay created by Rare, the developers known to N64 fans. It highlights titles like Diddy Kong Racing and Banjo-Kazooie as examples of Rare's quality work, suggesting Donkey Kong 64 will continue this trend with a unique and expansive new direction for the series. This page highlights 3 upcoming Nintendo 64 titles. The first game is Super Mario RPG 2, which is a tentative title for the game that became known internationally as Paper Mario. It's described as an action RPG from Nintendo, where Mario and his friends embark on a grand adventure. The game blends 2D and 3D worlds, creating a unique, flat, paper-like visual style for the characters, while still maintaining depth in the environments. The article emphasizes the creation of a strong Mario through this new gameplay system. Next up is Zelda Gaiden Panel de Pon. This article announces Panel de Pon 64, which was originally planned for the 64DD add-on, but is showcased here playable on the standard N64 via a ROM cartridge. The screenshots are actually from the Super Famicom version of Panel de Pon, used as a visual representation. Other 64DD titles like Mother 3 and Fire Emblem 64 are also mentioned in relation to 64DD software development. Finally, Kirby 64 is previewed, described as an action game. The article focuses on the game's 3D environments and sense of depth, along with Kirby's signature Inhale ability. A new feature called Ability Mix is introduced, allowing players to combine different copy abilities to create new and powerful actions. This promises a fresh and expansive adventure for Kirby, letting players combine character abilities and powers. This page is all about the upcoming Nintendo 64 game, Super Robot Wars 64. The article highlights that this N64 version features a brand new system and can link with the Game Boy version, promising 64 times the fun compared to previous games in the series. It emphasizes the impressive battle scenes and the inclusion of familiar special moves. Screenshots showcase in-game battle sequences and character dialogues, including characters named Xiao and Banjo. The page also mentions that character data can be linked using a 64 megabytes pack and includes a menu screenshot displaying options like phase end, troop list, counterattack order, and system. There is also a preview of the in-game battle screen, showing turn count and funds. This page announces the arrival of Super Robot Wars on the Nintendo 64 console. It highlights that this new N64 installment, Super Robot Wars 64, is a simulation RPG developed by Banpresto, using 256 MB of memory, and set for release in autumn. It will link with the Game Boy version of the game, Super Robot Wars Link Battler, also from Banpresto, which is an 8 MB simulation game planned for autumn release too. The page emphasizes the data linking feature between the N64 and Game Boy games, promising to expand the Super Robot Wars world. Screenshots show in-game battles with character dialogues from characters like Takeru commanding Godmars, and Quatre cautioning about Tooth Demon. It also introduces the BattleNet mode, showcasing player rankings featuring names like Akira Hayami, Mamiya Shin, Shaolan, Master Nakano, and Takuya Hayami, advertising it as a place for serious battler training. Another screenshot highlights a battle scene with Final Godmars and pilot Takeru. The GB version is described as a brand new type of competitive simulation game. The Super Robot Wars 64 system features unit and pilot abilities screens, displaying stats, skills, and special commands like spirit commands, which enhance combat. Intermission is vital for customizing units and pilots, including part upgrades and pilot adjustments, and features a link command. A Super Robot Wars series 3-minute lecture provides a history of the series, highlighting key entries like Second Time G, which established the SRPG system, Third Time, known for scenario branching and customization, and Fourth Time S, the conclusion of the Second Time series. An interview with the producer, Mr. Terada, reveals a focus on faster loading times due to the N64's cartridge format, aiming for a smoother, less stressful gameplay experience. The next page showcases the Super Robot Wars 64 battle scenes, highlighting how the N64 cartridge format allows for impressive visuals not possible on other consoles. The article details the evolution of battle scenes, noting that past games focused on pilot portraits, while the N64 version brings the robots to the forefront, displaying them larger and more prominently on screen. Producer Mr. Terada emphasizes the focus on robot size in this installment. The enhanced battle presentation includes 3D backgrounds, diagonal movement to amplify the intensity of close-quarters combat, and larger robot sprites. Special move attacks are presented with Qden animations, now featuring larger pilot and robot displays than ever before, delivering smoother and more visually striking animations. The page also briefly mentions several Super Robot Wars titles. Super Robot Wars F, Super Robot Wars F Final Chapter, which continues the story of F with a huge volume of content, New Super Robot Wars, which introduces new settings and original robots, and Super Robot Spirits, a 3D cel-shaded game featuring characters from New Super Robot and Super Robot R. This page details the mecha anime featured in Super Robot Wars 64. The game includes classic series like Gundam, Mazinger, and Getter Robo, alongside debut titles. Two highlighted series are God Mars and Giant Robo, both based on works by Yokoyama Mitsuteru. God Mars, known for its popularity and female fanbase, features 6 god robots and the protagonist, Takeru. Giant Robo, The Day the Earth Stood Still, pits the International Police Organization against the world-conquering BF Group, with Giant Robo as its strongest weapon. Producer Mr. Terada expresses his excitement about including these fan-requested series. The page lists all the included anime franchises, showcasing a diverse range of mecha titles. This page is all about Super Robot Wars 64, detailing how this game is different from previous entries in the series in terms of its world and story. The game is set in a world where Earth is under alien control, and the story focuses on super robots fighting to liberate the planet for humanity. A key feature highlighted is the 4 main characters, each providing a different story experience. These characters are divided into Super Robot Type and Real Robot Type, with portraits and screenshots showcasing both. The page points out that various characters from different mecha anime series, including villains and more obscure characters, will be active in the game. There is also a section where Super Robot Wars producer Mr. Terada talks about the game. Finally, the page explains the new scenario system in Super Robot Wars 64, emphasizing that player choices will influence the story's branching paths, a departure from the more linear scenarios of past games. The next page introduces Super Robot Tyson Link Battler for the Game Boy, emphasizing it as a new standalone game in the Super Robot Wars series, not just a link to the N64 version. It details the gameplay flow in 4 steps. Step 1 is creating an original team, where you assemble a team by selecting pilots and robots, with unit size determining team composition and total points limited to 5 per team. The focus is on strategic team building, considering both unit numbers and individual performance. Step 2 explains deciding action patterns, the turn-based battle system where you input commands for each unit. Each unit can perform up to 6 actions per turn. It mentions that character levels increase with gameplay, unlocking more action types. Step 3 is Battle Start, highlighting that battles are fought at long range using Super Robot's power. It mentions that spirit commands and special moves become available as morale increases. Step 4 covers Victory, getting experience points, stating that victory is achieved by defeating all enemy robots. Winning grants experience points, and VP, victory points, which allow pilots to level up and acquire new pilots or robots, encouraging players to build the strongest team. The page also mentions that Link Battler character data can be linked to Super Robot Wars 64, letting you train robots in Link Battler to use in Super Robot Wars 64. It suggests this linking feature enhances both games. In an interview, Super Robot Wars producer Terada Takanobu discusses Super Robot Wars 64 for the N64. Development began after Super Robot Spirits, aiming for a fresh experience on a new console. The game utilized the N64's 3D capabilities for enhanced battle scenes with dynamic visuals and impactful explosions, showcasing unique animations like Getter Robo transformations. Super Robot Wars 64 aimed to be the best in the series and incorporated a linking feature with the Game Boy title, Super Robot Tyson Link Battler, allowing players to train robots and transfer them. This was designed to engage a younger audience and enhance enjoyment of both games. Teragita expressed hope that players would appreciate the dedication put into the game, especially newcomers. He encouraged support for Super Robot Wars 64 and its link feature, promising strategic innovations in future installments. This page showcases Ogre Battle 64, Person of Lordly Caliber, a strategy RPG for the Nintendo 64. The page highlights the game's themes of strength, ideals, hope, and despair, questioning the righteousness of high-minded thoughts. It emphasizes that the game is filled with the dreams and sorrows of many people, marking the start of the Ogre Battle 64 strategy. The images include a grand castle, a symbolic design with the phrase, Person of Lordly Caliber, and a screenshot of a battle scene from the game. The bottom text reads, The battle's mark has come. This page details the deities and faith systems in Ogre Battle 64, Person of Lordly Caliber, focusing on the kingdom of Palatinus, which reveres the earth elemental goddess Versa, born from the heaven god Bola, and mother god Anum. The kingdom's faith, central to the narrative, contrasts with the Rhodius faith, a monotheistic religion worshipping the Holy Saint Father and solar god Philarha. This clash of beliefs fuels conflicts within the game. The text highlights Versa's importance, especially in Palatinus, and mentions Magnus receiving blessings from Versa's devotee, Odeon. Accompanying images depict key moments like departure, reality, and courage, alongside a battle scene showcasing God's power. The page also includes the game genre, simulation RPG, memory requirements, price, and outlines key gameplay sections like strategy guides. This guide for Ogre Battle 64 emphasizes strategic gameplay. Players should carefully consider choices outside of missions, as decisions impact the story and ally recruitment. Take time between missions to explore side paths for hidden content and treasures. Forming full units is vital. Maximize unit size for damage and protection, strategically placing characters with high defense in front. Consider PC creation choices. Answers to Odiron's questions affect starting items, unit composition, and leader class. Avoid frequent unit member changes. Unit experience is diluted by swapping members, weakening overall power. Consistent units build strength over time, increasing attack power and battle effectiveness. The guide highlights that mastering unit formations is key for success in the game. Ogre Battle 64 strategies center on base liberation, crucial for mission success and resource acquisition. High moral units align with law, low moral with chaos. Persuade wild characters before fighting, but be careful not to inflict too much damage. Protecting your main base is vital. It results in game over if lost. And manage unit fatigue by resting in camps. High fatigue hurts combat performance. Use the pause function strategically to issue commands and plan movements. Prioritize essential consumable items like healing herbs and purchase weapons/armor as needed. While defeating enemies grants experience, avoid excessive grinding. Training is a more resource-efficient way to level up. The next page continues the strategy guide for Ogre Battle 64, focusing on essential battle commands and character management. It emphasizes the importance of setting battle commands effectively in auto battles, detailing options like self-determination, commander target priority, attack disperse, and efficiency-focused battle, and when each is most useful. The guide also explains attack ranges, showing that units can attack enemies up to 2 squares horizontally, but not diagonally. Soldier progression is covered, noting soldiers gain experience differently from leaders and class change into fighters or Amazons at level 1, influenced by gender. Retreating from battles is advised in difficult situations to prevent unit wipeouts, especially during boss fights, minimizing damage. For players struggling with character defeats, the guide recommends checking formations, unit levels, and defense stats. It suggests adding a cleric to the party for healing and resurrection, highlighting their value in boss battles and resource management, despite resurrection costs. Another tactic is to adjust formations during battle to protect low HP characters by moving them to the rear. Ogre Battle 64 features combination magic, where multiple units cast spells on the same target for amplified effects. This occurs when at least 2 magic-capable units in the same row target the same enemy with matching spell types: attack, support, or recovery. Certain element combinations are incompatible. Different combinations exist for 2 and 3 units. Attack combinations, like wind and fire, produce a wind element attack. Recovery magic requires same element combinations for enhanced healing, while support magic utilizes different element combinations for hindering enemies. 3-unit magic has limitations. Examples include Plasma Ball, a powerful explosive attack, and Ionosphere, with guaranteed damage and extra effects. Incompatible element combinations should be avoided, and character types impact optimal combinations. Consider these factors when strategizing and building units for effective magic use. The next page is an item data edition, focusing on items appearing in Ogre Battle 64. It breaks down items into categories such as weapons, armor, magic books, accessories, and consumable items. Each item listing includes details on its type, attributes, price, and any special effects or comments. There's a section on rare treasure items, and also a section on items that can be obtained at the start of the game depending on choices made. It's essentially a guide to equip your characters effectively in the early stages of Ogre Battle 64. This page is a strategy guide for the Southern Border Tenny Plain map in Ogre Battle 64, Person of Lordly Caliber. It provides a map of the area with numbered points of interest and treasure locations marked. The guide includes strategic advice for approaching the map, suggesting a unit deployment strategy focusing on Marusk first, then Portal, and Bilzenexoni. It details the boss encounter against the Tenma no Stabiro at level 4 Berserker and a level 4 Y-Arm unit. There's information about events that trigger before missions involving Dio and Magnus, including choices with significant story implications. The page also lists enemy units encountered in this area, including wizards, knights, hellhounds, witches, and griffons, and provides stronghold data for locations like Zemio, Marusk, Jad, Buchanan, Hor, Portal, Bilzenexoni, and Teodrisk, with details on their forces, population, and morale. A shop data section for Jad lists available items and prices. Finally, it notes the wild characters present in the area are Y-Arm in the swamp, golems in rocky areas, and dragon babies in forests. This page continues the strategy guide, now covering 2 new maps: Fire Kind, Volmus Excavation Site, and Assault Command Clenel Valley, both for Ogre Battle 64, Person of Lordly Caliber. For the Volmus Excavation Site map, the objective is to rescue Ymil and then defeat the boss. Strategic advice suggests attacking locations in the order Senal, Demolese, Belbera, and finally Isiro. Enemy units are listed for each location on the map, including units like knights, dragon babies, clerics, fighters, wizards, and griffons. The boss for this area is a level 4 beast tamer, accompanied by a level 2 hellhound. There's a special event to rescue Ymil, with outcomes varying depending on whether Magnus, Dio, or another character completes the rescue. Moving on to the Clenel Valley map. This is described as a strategic map utilizing Hugo. The strategy recommends dividing your forces into left and right flanks. The left flank should target Kifa and Pulem, while the right flank heads towards Mover E and Karunoto. Enemy unit details are provided for each location on this map too, listing units such as beast tamers, griffons, wizards, sorceresses, berserkers, golems, valkyries, and ninjas. The boss here is the ephemeral net Valkyrie at level 5. Before starting this mission, Rhea joins your party, followed by Amazoness and Valkyrie units. Anything Valkyrie. An event also occurs where you can name Magnus's troops, but once decided, the name cannot be changed. This guide covers 2 Ogre Battle 64 missions. The path to advance requires liberating Elgoria and recruiting Troya. Focus on the boss, Zone Tact, Wizard, and let Ymil's unit lead. Split forces into 3 groups, purchase gear in Elgoria, and rescue Elgoria to recruit Troya. Area. Explore with Troya to obtain an item. The questioner involves Debonia. Avoid unnecessary battles and divide units, controlling Karyua to maintain morale. A shop in Esavera offers equipment. Defeat Debonia, General, to earn an Emblem of Courage. After defeating him, you'll fight Galatsky in Karyua, which requires priest units. Winning against Galatsky leads to a battle against Ansatakuros in Demidro. The next page is a strategy guide for the Volmus minefield area in Ogre Battle 64, Person of Lordly Caliber area. It presents a map of the area with numbered locations and tables detailing wild characters, base data, including population and morale, and shop data for Debessa and Zaira. There's also information on training enemy units and the boss battle against Valgena, a level 8 Phalanx class unit, along with suggested boss unit formations. The guide highlights enemy unit compositions at different locations on the map, advising players to be cautious of high attack power dragon-type units. The next page continues the strategy guide for Ogre Battle 64, Person of Lordly Caliber, giving tactical advice for the Volmus minefield area. Strategy 1 advises players to first control the lower half of the map by deploying units and securing key locations, suggesting the use of quit gate items for quick unit repositioning, and keeping a third unit in the center as backup. Strategy 2 then suggests a full-scale invasion of the upper map area with all units, emphasizing unit fatigue management and utilizing flying units effectively, specifically mentioning Unit Number 9. Strategy 3 focuses on the boss battle, recommending the use of the Pedra item for high-attack boss units, advising players to time its use carefully. A point section explains that buried treasures within the map are consistent across playthroughs, and notes the existence of new treasure items, like the map left plate and mail. Finally, an event section details a post-battle event, where players must decide Frederick's fate, a crucial choice that impacts the game's story. It outlines 2 options: to refuse to execute Frederick, leading to Dio's return, or to agree to execute him, resulting in Dio's disappearance and different story outcomes involving Dio's fate and the player's future choices, influencing the narrative. The next page continues. The Ogre Battle 64, Person of Lordly Caliber strategy guide, and focuses on the Gunder Mountain area. The page details the map locations, with points of interest and treasures like power fruits, cure leaf, and a simple forest. It lists wild monster encounters by terrain type, including dragon babies, griffons, blue dragons, and golems, and the items they drop. Location data for places like Taltke, Mosaka, Bugurni, Kingjia, Keys, Inzekel, and Guntur is provided, showing their population and morale. Shop data for Tultki lists available items and their prices such as short swords, Baldar swords, short bows, round shields, leather armor, hard leather, chainmail, iron helmets, leather hats, bandanas, cure leaves, cure seeds, cure packs, power fruits, angel fruits, and revive stones. Enemy unit formations for training are shown, along with a caution unit. Note that enemy units here are beast tamers and magic users that are strong in groups and on favorable terrain. The boss, Mad Length Makishi, is a level 9 berserker with wizards and berserkers in his formation, and the clear item reward is a flame flail. This Ogre Battle 64 guide focuses on map progression, unit selection, and key events. Early strategy involves splitting forces and deploying low-cost units like Rowan. Mountainous terrain favors beast tamers and magic users. Acquiring the Blue Dragon weapon early is recommended for its high attack power. 4 in-game events are detailed: recruiting Katreda in Keys, leading to Aznabel's joining, and a boss battle. In Yenkel, visiting with Katreda grants the Angel Brooch. Aznabel has another event in Kingjia. 2 additional events are a brother reunion at Mosaka, revealing Dio as the leader's brother, and a Dragon Helm acquisition. By getting drunk in Bugurni, players can learn of and purchase the Dragon Helm in Seniltown after completing a side quest. This page is a strategy guide for Ogre Battle 64. Person of Lordly Caliber, focusing on the Central Route Dardanelles section, Episode 8. It details the map of the Dardanelles area, showing locations like Melfi, Romera, Bangassou, and Dardanelles itself. The guide provides base data for different locations, listing their factions, populations, and morale. Romera is a player base. Adigrat is neutral, while others are enemy bases. There's a shop data section for Romera, detailing item names and prices for equipment like shields, spears, and healing items. A caution unit section highlights tough enemy units to watch out for, namely Ogre, Goblin, and Pumpkinhead groups, emphasizing their high attack and defense. The boss section focuses on Knight Ariosh, a level 10 Knight boss, suggesting using ogres to counter him, and advising players to target the ogre unit first. The page also lists living wild characters, found in different terrains with their names and item drops like Cure Seed and Leather Armor. And finally includes training enemy unit formations with various unit compositions for practice battles. This Ogre Battle 64 guide focuses on strategies and events in the Dardanelles area. 3 battle strategies are outlined: attacking from top and center, using the Bangassou area as a front line, and outflanking enemies. 4 event sections provide in-game instructions. Event 1 details acquiring a silk cloth and a pure white dress by interacting with specific NPCs at specific locations and times with a female leader. Event 2 describes encounters with ogre and goblin enemies that are not recorded in the Hugo report, including the Goat's Loss. Shop events in Melfi detail the availability of the Rebirth Festival item for 1500 G and the Meteor Strike spellbook for 50,000 G. The guide emphasizes the time-sensitive nature of events, recommending careful time management on the world map. This guide section covers the Alba region in Ogre Battle 64's Southern Independence chapter. It provides a map with locations like Arata, Geohel, and Wurza, along with enemy details. Different terrains host specific enemy types: hellhounds, earth dragons, dragon babies, that drop items. Fortress data details locations, their controlling forces, population, and morale. Suggested training unit formations are provided, mixing classes for effectiveness. Enemy unit formations, levels, unit types, and item drops are listed for each numbered location. Shop data reveals available items in Wurza, weapons, cure seeds, power fruits, and Geohel, weapons, armor, marionettes, cure seeds, power fruits. The boss, Southern Army General Godislas, level 8 Vanity, with Knights and Valkyries, drops the Estoc upon defeat. The area is noted as easier than the previous map. This page details strategies for Ogre Battle 64, Person of Lordly Caliber, continuing the guide for the Southern Independence chapter in the Alba region. Strategy 1 is about luring enemies to Boende, advising players to draw out enemies and weaken them before engaging fully, especially noting the Dragon Eater enemy. Strategy 2 focuses on dividing forces into 2 after reducing enemy numbers around Boende, directing forces towards Geohel and Wurza. Point 1 highlights defeating Earth Dragons to acquire valuable items like the powerful Berserker Sword, recommending players to search for these items. Point 2 discusses the Annihilation spell's value, noting it is expensive at 30,000 G, but incredibly powerful, advising players to save money to purchase it if possible. Event 1. Challenge Godsloss in Magnus. Suggests using Magnus to fight Godsloss, emphasizing a different dialogue experience compared to using regular characters, and featuring Knight Boldwin's dialogue. Event 2. Unrest and mysteries remain, but the Revolutionary Army succeeds in southern independence. Summarizes the narrative conclusion after defeating Godsloss, where despite lingering unrest, the Revolutionary Army achieves southern independence, with Frederica pondering the future path and the meaning of their actions. This page is all about class changes in Ogre Battle 64, Person of Lordly Caliber. It's titled Class Change Edition, and dives into the game's deep class system, mentioning there are 74 classes in total. The page features a class change system diagram, specifically focusing on the human classes and their progression from novice to soldier or fighter, then to master, and finally to rebirth classes. They highlight several basic human classes like soldier, fighter, Amazons, and phalanx, knight, berserker, and fencer, detailing their attack types, preferred terrain, and basic equipment needed. It explains how to understand the class data shown, like the attack positions, number of attacks, and required equipment for each class. The page also gives a Note on Class Change section, explaining that certain conditions need to be met based on base class, equipment, and character stats before you can change class. This guide details advanced character classes in Ogre Battle 64, Person of Lordly Caliber. Classes are categorized by combat style and equipment. The guide covers melee fighters like the Beast Tamer, whips, ninja, claws, paladin, swords, dragoon, dragon spears, black knight, sabers, swordmaster, katanas, cataphract, spears, and beastmaster, rapture roses. Ranged attackers include the archer, bows, Diana, Itable bows, and dragon master, Eastox. Magic users include the wizard, witch, sorceress, enchanter, goetic, siren, and priest, all using staves or wands. Divine and support classes include the Valkyrie, Freya, both spear-wielding, and cleric, maces. Classes like the Dollmaster and Ninja Master are also described, with each entry detailing attack methods, preferred terrain, equipment, and abilities. The next page delves deeper into advanced classes within Ogre Battle 64, Person of Lordly Caliber, focusing on demi-human and beast classes. Demi-human classes detailed are Princess, Centurion, male and female, Zombie, male and female, Skeleton, Ghost, Lich, Vampire, Angel Knight, Seraphim, Hawkman, Vultan, Raven, Gremlin, Fairy, and Pumpkinhead. Each class entry outlines their combat styles, such as Princess using rank 1 and 2 magic, Centurions excelling at striking, Zombies biting, Skeletons also striking, Ghosts using nightmares, and Leeches having unknown skills. Vampire employs life force attacks, Angel Knights use strike and vanish, and Seraphim has unknown attacks. Hawkman and Vultan both utilize striking and wind shots respectively. Ravens have unknown attacks, Gremlins use Nail Kiss and Abyss, Fairies use Nail Kiss and Magic Missile, and Pumpkinheads use Drag Eater attacks. Terrain preferences and basic equipment are also listed for each class. Moving on to beast classes, the page covers Kerberos, Hellhound, Worm, Wyvern, and Griffin. Kerberos and Hellhound both employ biting attacks. Worms and Wyverns also use biting attacks, with Wyverns additionally using Fire Breath. Griffins attack by snatching and utilize wind shots. A notable aspect of beast classes is that item equipment is generally not applicable, emphasizing their raw, natural combat prowess. This page continues the exploration of advanced classes in Ogre Battle 64, Person of Lordly Caliber, now focusing on Dragon and Golem classes. The Dragon section details various dragon types, like Ofnin, a higher class of Griffon with wind magic, Cockatrice, a bird-snake hybrid using petrification, and Sphinx, a high-intelligence magic attacker. Dragon Puppy is the juvenile dragon class, capable of evolving into various classes depending on element. Thunder Dragon uses wind and thunder, Red Dragon uses fire, Earth Dragon uses earth, and Blue Dragon uses water attacks. Platinum Dragon uses white-silver scales, Black Dragon uses dark black scales. Quetzalcoatl Ignal is described as a higher class of Thunder Dragon and a Sun God. Flarebrass is a higher class of Red Dragon and uses heat. Hydra is a water dragon with multiple heads, while Bahamut is a higher class of platinum dragon. Tiamat is a higher class of black dragon and considered the strongest. Moving to Golem classes, Golem is described as a large humanoid construct strong against physical attacks but weak to magic. Stone Golem is a stone-made guardian, stronger than Golem. Barter Golem is made of balder metal and even stronger, with high defense. Orge is a giant wielding a warhammer, while Goblin is a small demon-like creature with horns. This page is all about Mario Golf 64. It highlights 3 powerful and sought-after characters in the game: Bowser, Maple, and Donkey Kong, and explains how to unlock them. Bowser, described as Mario's rival, boasts the longest driving distance in the game, reaching 280 yards with a standard 1 wood, and a massive 308 yards with a power shot. However, his high ball trajectory and susceptibility to wind might make him a bit challenging for beginners. To unlock Bowser, you need to conquer him as the boss in the Character Get mode. Maple is presented as the most user-friendly character. She is an original character for the game, with a cheerful look, and has the longest drive for a female character at 245 yards. Her straight and high trajectory, similar to Peach, makes her versatile and easy to handle in any situation, making her a popular choice. You can unlock Maple by collecting 50 birdie badges in tournament mode. Finally, Donkey Kong, a popular character making his golfing debut, offers power comparable to Bowser, with power shots exceeding 300 yards. While his overall drive isn't quite as long as Bowser's, his low trajectory fade shot and wind resistance can make him even stronger in certain conditions. To add Donkey Kong to your roster, you need to gather 30 stars in ring shot mode. This page is dedicated to providing one-point advice to players looking to improve their Mario Golf 64 skills. It emphasizes the importance of gathering information before taking a shot, suggesting players thoroughly check the main screen, course overview, and target location display. The guide then delves into understanding the characteristics of different golf clubs, explaining how the angle of each club affects the ball's trajectory and distance. It compares the driver, 1W, 2 iron, 2I, and sand wedge, SW, highlighting their strengths and weaknesses in terms of distance and trajectory. The advice stresses selecting the right club to maximize performance based on the situation. Moving on to green reading, the page explains how to interpret green slopes using the wireframe display and elevation indicators. It advises players to anticipate how slopes will affect the ball's roll, both in direction and distance, especially on putting. Furthermore, it covers power adjustments after initially setting the shot power, detailing how to make fine-tuning adjustments to the hitting point. This includes considering wind conditions and distance to the target, which can be crucial for precision. Finally, the guide touches upon how the ball's momentum impacts its curve, particularly on the green. Stronger shots might overshoot the cup on flat greens, whereas weaker shots are more susceptible to slope influence. It concludes by reminding players to factor in elevation differences when deciding shot power, as even seemingly flat greens can present challenges due to slopes and ball momentum. This guide details ring shot strategies for holes 11 to 16 in Mario Golf 64. Hole 11 emphasizes soft shots to avoid overshooting, using a 4-wood or Peach's 1-wood. Hole 12 requires a powerful 1-wood shot to reach the green, aiming high. Hole 13 focuses on a 2-shot strategy, aiming for the ring on the second shot. Hole 14 suggests aiming directly at the ring with the first shot, while hole 15 involves curving the second shot after a strategically placed first shot. Finally, hole 16 advises controlling the first shot's distance and targeting the left edge of the first ring to simplify the second shot. This guide summarizes the ring shot challenges from Mario Golf 64, focusing on Course 2, holes 21 to 26. Each hole features rings that must be cleared to succeed. Hole 21 is a par 5 with 3 rings, requiring strategic ball placement. Hole 22 is a par 4 with 1 ring, emphasizing avoiding the creek. Hole 23, another par 5, has 3 rings and stresses accuracy. Hole 24, a par 4, hides a ring in the woods. Hole 25, a par 4, challenges players to reach the ring in 2 shots. Hole 26, a par 5 with 3 rings, encourages using a low trajectory and emphasizes accuracy to the scattered arches. Key gameplay tips include understanding trajectory based on impact point and character strength. The impact point on the ball influences trajectory and distance. Hitting below the center increases trajectory and reduces distance, while hitting above has the opposite effect. Character strength affects shot types. draw, straight, fade, and trajectories, high, medium, low, impacting carry and run. This guide covers holes 31 to 36 in Mario Golf 64's Course 3. Strategies include intentionally landing in a bunker for hole 31, curving shots around cacti in hole 32, aiming over the OB area for hole 33, using club selection and power for an uphill shot in hole 34, and utilizing rocks for a 2-on approach in hole 35. Hole 36 involves aiming for a small island or the fairway, depending on your skill. The guide also includes advice on how to curve the ball, outlining the factors that influence ball trajectory, ball spin, wind, lie, meet area, and hitting point. Diagrams illustrate the effects of ball spin, wind, and slopes. The meet area discusses how the ball will curve based on where it is hit on the club face. This guide details Course 4 of Mario Golf 64, emphasizing tricky ring placements. Each hole's strategy focuses on ring shots and subsequent shot placement. Hole types. Hole types vary from par 3s to par 5s, with ring numbers ranging from 1 to 3. Strategies include aiming for the ring directly, hole 43, curving shots around rings, hole 42, and utilizing high or low trajectories for ring passage, hole 44. Ring shot mode in tournament play prioritizes a complete rate based on ring hits, not necessarily par. The guide emphasizes visualizing shot trajectory for ring shots, considering subsequent shots, and accepting rough or bunker landings near greens if rings are captured. This section details strategy for Mario Golf 64's Teresa Valley course, offering advice on 8 specific holes. Key takeaways include: Hole 1, par 4, cautious first shot. Hole 2, par 4, wind awareness and aiming left. Hole 3, par 5, aggressive 2-on strategy for skilled players, but watch for OB. Hole 4, par 3, accuracy is crucial due to hazards. Hole 5, par 4, careful shot direction and power on V-shaped fairway. Hole 6, par 4, accurate tee shots, power players risk OB going for the green. Hole 7, par 5, focus on par and bunker avoidance due to length and hazards. Hole 8, par 3, elevated green, aim for slightly longer shots and avoid OB. The guide details the back 9 of Teresa Valley in Mario Golf 64. Hole 9's snake-like fairway demands cautious first shots. Hole 10 emphasizes fairway play, with powerful characters potentially reaching the green in one. Hole 11 warns about an uneven fairway, and hole 12 is a small, elevated green. Hole 13 features an S-shaped fairway, and hole 14 is a straightforward shot to a lower green. Hole 15 is an uphill par 3 requiring a stronger shot. Hole 16 is memorable with island hazards. Hole 17 is a long par 5 requiring careful second shot planning. Hole 18 is the final hole, encouraging a birdie attempt, noting fairway challenges. Additional notes. In calm battles, always aim for the pin and don't give up. In tournament mode, expect scores to worsen on later holes. This page continues the Mario Golf 64 Teresa Valley course guide, detailing holes 1 through 9. Hole 1, themed after Yoshi, is challenging for weaker characters due to its length, requiring power shots to reach the green in one. Hole 2 is surrounded by deep rough and features hills and bunkers, demanding precise fairway navigation. Hole 3, a beautiful but difficult long hole themed after Petey Piranha, punishes shots landing in the deep rough and bunkers around the fairway and the character. Hole 4 is a shorter, highly difficult hole with Cheep Cheep in the pond, where par is a good score, and players should be mindful of the height difference for their first shot. Hole 5, featuring 3 thwomps, rewards accurate first shots with birdie opportunities by aiming between the eyes and face of the thwomps, utilizing the small fairway. Hole 6 is a downhill short hole to a green surrounded by water like an island, requiring careful aiming at Lakitu's shell and attention to the green slope. Hole 7 is a long hole themed after Shy Guy, offering routes through the rough or aiming directly at the Shy Guy, adapting strategy based on character power and wind conditions. Hole 8 is manageable if the first shot avoids the rough, with weaker characters aiming for the piranha plant's flower and stronger characters directly targeting the green. Hole 9, themed after Bowser, warns players to avoid hitting into Bowser's mouth, emphasizing fairway accuracy and caution on the sloped green. The next page continues the Teresa Valley course guide for Mario Golf 64, covering holes 10 through 18. Hole 10, a PAR-4 at 400 yards, is themed around Koopa Troopa and features a significant elevation change, making distance judgment tricky. Hole 11, a 515-yard PAR-5, is Cannon and Bullet Bill, themed with a wide fairway encouraging aggressive play. Hole 12, a short 172-yard PAR-3, is themed after Toad and warns that bunkers make getting par difficult. Hole 13, a 400-yard PAR-4 themed around Goomba, is described as looking harder than it actually is, advising players to play with confidence. Hole 14, a 380-yard PAR-4 themed around Chain Chomp, is noted for its bunkers that easily catch errant shots, making it an annoying hole. Hole 15, a 419-yard PAR-4 themed around Baby Blooper, features bunkers in the sea, making par difficult to achieve. Hole 16, a 195-yard PAR-3 Peach-themed hole, is described as beautiful yet highly challenging. Hole 17, a 520-yard PAR-5 themed around Bow-Bombs, highlights navigating the brown Bow-Bombs as the main challenge. Finally, Hole 18, a 395-yard PAR-4, and the final hole of the course, is themed after Mario and Luigi, and is noted for having a slightly difficult second shot. The page also includes a tip in the Knowing Mario Golf information section about a secret R-trigger input during character selection. This page provides gameplay tips and highlights new features for JICU J-League 1999, Perfect Striker 2 on the N64. The game emphasizes strategic play due to slower ball speeds, improved player and AI movement, and a focus on smart passing and positioning. Key techniques include using long passes to exploit space, drawing out opponents in 1v1 situations, and utilizing charged tackles. The pre-play verification section stresses the ease of controlling long balls and exploiting less aggressive AI reactions. Enhanced game modes include J1 and J2 leagues, with progression allowing access to the Japanese national team and others. New modes like Presidency Series and Mini League, with injury tracking, offer diverse single and multiplayer experiences. Additional features include Success Mode for creating players and clubs, and training matches for beginners. The game was released on July 29th for 7,800 yen. The next page continues the gameplay guide for JICU J-League 1999, Perfect Striker 2 on the N64, providing more in-depth tactics. It highlights how players not being directly controlled are smarter and more responsive, especially with timing and overlaps. Loose balls are more frequent after tackles, emphasizing the importance of player positioning and manual control. Goalkeepers' abilities are significantly reduced, making it easier to score from shots and crosses, though they are better in one-on-one situations. Player kicks are less accurate, direct passes might miss, and sliding tackles are effective for interceptions. The page also points out a clear difference in player movement between J1 and J2 teams, with J1 teams showing more organized and strategic play compared to the simpler movements of J2 teams. The guide recommends experiencing both team types to understand tactical nuances. This guide details 4 side attack techniques. The floating 1-2 is a lofted pass for crowded areas. Centering emphasizes different approaches based on distance. Shoot centering with a curved shot away from the keeper, and C-button centering to a teammate in front of the goal. Breaking through the midfield with mid-pass focuses on weakening the opponent's defense using side changes and mid-passes, including using post players and the C-button for headers. Finally, side one-on-one breakthrough describes the Chan dash dribble, utilizing the dash button and Z, ball out, to bypass defenders in a one-on-one situation near the sidelines. The next page continues. The Perfect Striker 2 Strategy Guide, focusing on advanced techniques. It advises against carelessly using through passes, suggesting they are best used centrally, and to utilize side passes in wider areas. The guide emphasizes exploiting space by making runs when defenders are marking tightly, and stresses the importance of watching the radar to identify free players for passes, particularly through passes and passes to the wings. Players should also consider who is making runs when passing, thinking about timing, and player switching to create opportunities. Moving to defense, the guide highlights using calm teammate cooperation. It advises players to consider their teammates' movements in defense, as they will follow and support, emphasizing positional awareness and team defense. For one-on-one situations, It recommends using charge tackles, but cautions against relying too heavily on them due to potential fouls and the need for quick reactions. Finally, it warns against fully trusting the goalkeeper, especially against strong shots, and reiterates the importance of solid defensive play in front of the goal. This page is focused on the success mode of Perfect Striker 2 and how to win. It's a guide explaining player abilities and command menus in the game. The page opens with How to Play, explaining that success mode is similar to Konami's Power Pro baseball games, easy to understand for veterans, but with unique burst elements, especially regarding position changes and training. It highlights the importance of understanding player abilities and commands, stating that there are 3 core elements: ability values, command values, and special abilities. The parameters section details the 10 player ability types, defining them as a player's potential. These are divided into offensive and defensive categories. Offensive skills are determination, shot accuracy, shot power, curve, ball curve, speed, movement speed, dash acceleration, and stamina, endurance skills. Defensive skills include keep, ball control, defense, defensive strength, pass accuracy, and keeper, goalkeeping ability, for goalkeepers only. Goal kick ability is also listed as a goalkeeper-specific parameter. Each parameter has a brief description explaining its in-game effect. Finally, the spirit section emphasizes the importance of a player's spirit, stating it's affected by in-game events and impacts training effectiveness. High spirit boosts training benefits, while low spirit can hinder progress. Spirit is described as being easier to raise initially, but difficult to recover once lowered. This page continues the guide for J-League Perfect Striker 2 and delves deeper into the game's success mode. It explains how to strategically use commands based on the situation, such as visiting the hospital for injuries or using the system command to adjust formations. Training is highlighted as fundamental for player development, emphasizing how different training menus impact specific player stats, detailing how running improves body and stamina, while short sprints boost speed and dash. It notes that match practice is especially beneficial, tailoring development based on player position for forwards, midfielders, defenders, and goalkeepers. The guide emphasizes the significance of special abilities, considering them as crucial as regular player stats. These unique skills are acquired through in-game events and items, and mastering them is key to victory. The page also touches upon special moves, described as brilliant techniques that give players an edge in matches. Success mode allows players to acquire and utilize these special moves, adding depth to gameplay strategy. Player evaluation is also discussed, mentioning feedback from coaches, teammates, and even female characters. These evaluations are based on rankings and player mood and factor into overall progress. Finally, the guide points out the importance of the status screen, where players can check their abilities, special skills, and injury status. Vital information to review after training and before matches. Ability acquisition events, occurring during meetings and training, are also highlighted, with player choices influencing ability gains or losses. This guide to J-League Perfect Striker 2 focuses on building a successful player through stamina management, match performance, and strategic event navigation. The Road to Top Flight Navigation emphasizes 3 key principles. Prioritize stamina, especially in the early years, and maintain it above 60. Win matches to accelerate improvement, and utilize regular events strategically. The way kit is that regular events, similar to those in Power Pro, are scheduled over 3 years, impacting a player's condition and abilities. These events range from team practices and character visits to minigames and personal issues. Player evaluations, both from the coach, using phrases like almost there to hopeless, and teammates, is nice to unreliable, influence player development. Birthday events, crucial for gifts, are scheduled twice yearly, with timing varying depending on a player's birth date. This page is dedicated to mastering training in J-League Perfect Striker 2. It emphasizes focused training based on player position and player type to efficiently improve skills. The page details focused training methods, listing essential abilities and important training exercises for each position from goalkeeper to striker. It explains how to tailor training based on player type defensive, attacking, or goalkeeper to maximize development, highlighting minigames and stamina management. The guide stresses the critical connection between physical condition and injury risk, advising players to manage fatigue and ensure adequate recovery, especially by taking rest days. It breaks down the injury mechanism, explaining how injuries are determined by stamina levels and fatigue. It describes different levels of injury severity, from minor injuries treatable with rest to serious injuries requiring hospitalization, impacting a player's ability to play and train. Finally, there's a success secrets section with an interview featuring game developers Okudaira Yasuhiko, Nakagawa Iji, and Kondo Tetsuaki. They discuss the game's development, focusing on elements like balancing GK ability, mentioning they aimed for a 96 GK average to ensure challenging gameplay, and creating diverse player characters and events, including seasonal events and girlfriend mechanics within the success mode. They hint at the possibility of having multiple girlfriends but suggest focusing on player development is more important. They also touch upon the game's difficulty and encourage players to experiment with different player types. This guide focuses on mastering minigames and managing player attributes in J-League Perfect Striker 2. Minigames, vital for player development, appear during summer and training camps, particularly important for the Ishii rivalry event, where victory significantly improves evaluation. Maximize stamina before these camps. The guide provides tactics. Defense requires maintaining possession. Free kick demands precise shooting based on distance. And keeper necessitates quick reactions. It also addresses negative abilities, like injury-prone, resolved by consulting the coach, and selfishness, lovesickness, solved by speaking with senior players. Winning the youth tournament involves tactics such as crossing from the right and PK strategy. Finally, it discusses the reset option, which is possible due to the autosave feature at the start of each week, and questions the ethics of using it to replay weeks. J-League Perfect Striker 2 features a variety of random events. Mysterious Woman, Yokosuka Yoko, boosts player skills based on chosen titles. Sudden Rain Starts Falling can give negative weather-related abilities. Show Your Bravery to Your Parents offers skills like Jackpot. Night Practice with the coach can influence his evaluation. Conversation events with Ishii and Nishizawa unlock special ability enhancements, with specific timing and interaction requirements. The Reunion with Kozanai Mami event is a chance encounter during the school festival. Finally, the game hosts the Dengeki Burst Cup tournament, where players create original anime-style teams, train them in success mode, and submit their game data, following strict rules regarding player creation and data integrity. The application deadline is August 21st. This page is a strategy guide focusing on Shadowgate 64. Trials of the Four Towers. It highlights that the game is an adventure where players escape from a locked room and explore. The guide emphasizes puzzle solving through item usage and character interaction to advance the story. A key feature mentioned is the in-game map, which is described as being divided into 5 areas, from underground passages to city streets. The map helps players understand locations, item placements, and event triggers, marked with checkpoints. The page gives hints on early game puzzles, like using straw and bones to find and open a hidden door to escape the initial room and continue the adventure. The next page continues the strategy guide for Shadowgate 64. Trials of the Four Towers, focusing on Area 1, Underground Passage. It presents a map of this area, showing locations such as the Shrine Hall and Disciples Tower, both situated on the B1 floor. The guide highlights that players will frequently revisit this area and emphasizes the importance of item usage and seeking clues from skeletons encountered. It lists 5 key items obtainable in this area: an iron rod, a map, a memo, a pickle, and treasure, hinting at their locations. The text describes the underground passage as a waterway, cautioning players about its depth and advising frequent saving. It mentions the pickle's use for escaping through a ceiling hole, and notes unsolved puzzles within the passage, and an initially unusable door connecting the towers. The map itself is marked with numbered locations, and check points to guide players. This page continues the strategy guide for Shadowgate 64, Trials of the Four Towers, now focusing on Area 2, Disciples Tower, described as a treasury of important information. The guide provides maps for B1F, 1F, 2F, 3F, and 4F of the Disciples Tower, highlighting key locations with numbered markers and checkpoints. It explains that the tower was once a magic school and contains numerous books and memos with hints to escape. Players are advised to collect all clues and are told that escaping the tower requires a small person's box and fine string to be used at a window with a dragon crest. The puzzle from the 3rd to 4th floor is detailed, involving placing statues of original human, beast human, elf, and fairy elf on pedestals. The hint to solve this puzzle, a probability 1/2 challenge, is the order of human evolution described in a book within the tower. Humans evolve into elves, elves into fairy elves, and humans into beasts. The correct statue order for the pedestals, from left to right, is original human, beast human, and fairy elf. Items obtainable in this area include images of fairy elf, elf, original human, and beast human, books, memos, a sun drawing, sun extraction, a new coin, a small person's box, and a cemetery key. Slippers, and another item, marked number 25, are noted as currently unobtainable. The next page continues the strategy guide for Shadowgate 64, Trials of the Four Towers. Now moving on to Area 3, Cemetery and Chapel. This area is highlighted as needing caution when moving on the rooftops. The guide includes maps for B, 1F, 1F, and 2F, roof, levels of the cemetery and chapel areas, marked with numbered checkpoints. An attention box asks, nails are for what purpose? Explaining that nails are used on the chapel roof to fix a ladder, and nail pliers are needed to retrieve them. It's hinted that these nails can be used as material for keys later in the game. Another attention box, important information even in the cemetery, advises players to talk to sleeping people in the cemetery for clues, and mentions a wealthy person named Arister Lynn, who might offer treasure if given something. Items found in this area include a dragon's tear, golden key, 3-leaf key, nails, nail pliers, Zezeberu pendant, documents, and items 4 and 5 require the Ring of the Dead to obtain. Screenshots show a nail being used to repair a ladder, nail pliers being used to retrieve nails, and gameplay scenes in the cemetery, including a sleeping person and a treasure chest. This page continues the strategy guide for Shadowgate 64, Trials of the Four Towers, this time focusing on Area 4, Rakumir's Tower. Described as a tower, with continuous warp puzzles being the biggest challenge. The objective in this tower is to obtain the Ring of the Dead, located on the 4th floor. The biggest obstacle highlighted is the warp device on the 3rd floor, for which the guide provides the solution as front, right, 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 left, right, left. Maps are provided for floors B, 1F, 1F, 2F, 3F, and 4F, marked with checkpoints. An attention box warns players about the forest extract potion, stating, "Do not mix. Danger!" Explaining that mixing it with the wrong potion leads to a game over, and it should only be mixed with a specific other potion. It's also revealed that keys are crafted from nails and ironware in the altar room on the 2nd floor, using a machine found on the 4th floor. The page lists items found in this area, including oil bottle, key grip, memo, giant's hair, water pitcher, rusty key, seal emblem, forest extract, night sky extract, pen, blue ring, Ring of the Dead, and azure ring. Screenshot, at the bottom right, shows the machine on the 4th floor, which uses nails obtained from the chapel area, along with other materials, to create the final key needed to open the last door. The Shadowgate 64 strategy guide now covers the city area. Players must acquire vital items and the Whispering Stone to reach the next tower. This area expands the explorable region significantly. Key events involve the Tower of Disciples, where a ghostly poet offers crucial hints through song. These songs, including Hero Road, help guide the player, and the poet disappears after all are heard. A fragrant flower obtained in Shadowgate Castle might be a tribute. Another crucial event takes place at a watermill. A ghost girl needs slippers. One is with an old man at the inn, the other is near the Flying Dragon Tower, and is obtained after giving a man florin coins. Returning both slippers grants the Whispering Stone. A wide array of items is also collected throughout this section of the game, including coins, letters, flowers, and various tools and keys. This page is a strategy guide for the N64 game Star Wars Episode 1, Racer. It focuses on essential techniques, highlighting 2 main types of turns: the grip turn, which is a standard turn using the control stick, and the slide turn, which requires using the Z button and precise timing to execute effectively. Another type mentioned is the stick-down turn for tighter corners. The page also introduces several pod racers and their characteristics. For example, Anakin Skywalker is described as having good acceleration, handling, and being easy to use. EB Indocot is recommended for beginners due to excellent handling. Dud Bolt is noted for high top speed and traction but poor turning. Gasgano is fast and has good repair skills but poor brakes, while characters like Tinto Pagales and Mars Guio are also listed, along with others like Fode and Bede and Bullseye Navier. Finally, at the bottom, there is an announcement for an event in Osaka on August 15th, promoting May the Force Be With You, featuring Darth Vader and actor David Prowse, who played Darth Vader. This guide for Star Wars Episode 1, Racer, covers advanced techniques. Aggressive, unlimited boosting on straightaways and gentle boosts on curves are recommended. Upgrading parts, especially turn, top speed, and traction, is crucial for success. Using the C buttons to tilt the racer helps with obstacle avoidance and navigating tight spaces. Jumping can shorten courses, requiring speed and 3D stick control, with level landing crucial to minimize damage. Side panel tips highlight the rocket start technique, using the course map, and the economic benefits of purchasing pit droids. A table lists racers, categorized by skill level, and their corresponding tracks. This guide provides course strategy for Star Wars Episode 1, Racer's Amateur Pod Racing Series. The Jedi Iron rules emphasize using shortcuts and prioritizing first place to earn upgrades. Rule 1 focuses on path selection and shortcut mastery, requiring practice. Rule 2 recommends investing prize money in upgrades, specifically engines and plugs, after winning all courses. Recommended racers include Anakin Skywalker, Ebe Endicott, and Slide Paramita, focusing on turn performance. The guide then details each of the 8 amateur courses, including difficulty, target times, and techniques. Courses range from straightforward practice tracks to challenging mazes, requiring techniques like boost control, slide turns, reverse steering, and route memorization. Key strategies include mastering shortcuts, using boost strategically, and correcting spins. Winning races and earning prize money are crucial for upgrading pod racers and ultimately aiming to become a first-place pro. This guide covers courses 1 to 8 of the Semi-Pro Pod Racing Series in Star Wars Episode 1, Racer. Sunken City emphasizes boost and pipe shortcuts. Howler Gorge focuses on tent shortcuts and chained boosts. Dag Derby warns about sharp curves after tunnels, requiring careful brakings. Scrapper's Run highlights super speed slide turns around a pipe. Zuga Challenge stresses machine upgrades for speed and turning. Balloon Coast features a jungle shortcut, sandbar turns, and a jump with breakable walls. Bumpy Breakers is all about jumps and sharp curves, advising horizontal landings and careful handling. Abyss highlights route options, difficult curves, and a potential shortcut. Staying centered, controlling turn performance, and reducing speed for sharp turns are recommended for Abyss. This page is all about mastering the voice input for Densha to Go 64, the train driving simulator. It's a guide on how to get the hang of using your voice to control the game. The page highlights 2 main points for voice input success. First, timing is critical. You need to speak when the Tech-Chan mark appears on screen. Second, pronunciation needs to be clear and correct, especially for the command Shinko, which means proceed. The guide shows examples of correct mouth shapes for each syllable of Shinko, and contrasts it with a bad example of pronunciation, emphasizing the importance of clear enunciation and not mumbling. It mentions that correct voice input increases your bonus points and extends your playtime. It also notes that voice input is only needed during specific situations, and button presses are not required during input. The next page dives into the different routes and stations available in Densha to Go 64. It showcases the Hoku Hoku line across 4 difficulty levels: initial, upper, medium, and special grades. The initial grade is perfect for beginners, focusing on learning the ropes. The upper grade is similar, but throws in speed warnings to keep you on your toes. The medium grade route has fewer stops, demanding precise timing. Finally, the special grade cranks up the challenge with tighter schedules and the need for constant speed adjustments. There's also a section called Dr. Thomas's Research Institute under Derailment Plan, which continues the voice input discussion from the previous page. It mentions the ongoing research into voice command recognition for Densha to Go 64. Lastly, a bad words section humorously lists incorrect voice commands that the game might misinterpret. Examples for the command Shinko, proceed, include Ginkgo and Geico, and for Taisha, stop, it lists Geisha, along with some funny phrases like Hiragoma, Pikachu, and Seaman. This guide details train routes in Densha de Go 64. The Akita Shinkansen E3 series offers 3 difficulty levels. Initial, Akita Omagari, frequent speed limits and braking challenges. Medium, Omagari Morioka, effective but sometimes delayed braking. And special, Akita Omagari, snow, strict speed limits. The O Mainline 701 series, Akita Omagari, medium, requires 90 km per hour target speeds and careful timing due to all stations being stops. The Tazawako Line 701 series, Tazawako Morioka medium, features long station distances, a 45 km per hour speed limit, and demands constant attention. Finally, the Keihin Tohoku Line 209 series, Shinagawa Ueno medium, stresses anticipating frequent, low speed limits and accelerating appropriately to avoid delays. A separate section discusses refining voice command recognition. This guide for Densha de Go 64 outlines train lines and difficulty levels. The Keihin Tohoku Line, medium, emphasizes precise stopping. The Yamanote Line, hard, demands constant acceleration and braking due to short distances. Several Tokaido line routes are featured. The 207 and 223 series, medium, focus on speed management. The 201 series, hard, adds weather and departure warnings. And the 221 series, hard, includes unpredictable speed limits and similar station spacing to the 223 series. The guide also includes a section on Thomas Hakasi's Bento Research Institute, listing various ekeben, station bento boxes, found along the discussed train lines, with notes about the food and their station of origin. The next page is a strategy guide for Hybrid Heaven on the N64, an action RPG by Konami. This guide focuses on battle tactics, explaining that to become a super fighter, you need to master the basics of combat and understand how to learn new techniques. The guide highlights 4 key points for battle. Firstly, understanding techniques through experience and actively learning new moves by taking hits, even guard hits. Secondly, it emphasizes the effectiveness of combo attacks for significant damage. Thirdly, it points out the importance of using different body parts in combat, as attack power varies depending on the body part used for striking. Finally, the guide advises players to anticipate enemy attacks to avoid damage, and emphasizes using backsteps and sidesteps. The page also features a full move data list detailing various attack types, their names, and the number of times you need to receive damage to learn them. The guide mentions that harder moves take longer to learn, and special down attacks are harder to master than grapple techniques. This page presents a monster list for Hybrid Heaven, detailing 41 different enemy types. It's designed to be a battle tactics guide, helping players understand enemy characteristics and weaknesses. The list provides each monster's name, an image, and a short comment describing their fighting style and advice on how to defeat them. It also indicates whether each monster is susceptible to grappling moves and if they possess special attacks. For example, the first monster, Neosu, is noted for occasionally dropping Life Charger S items when attacked, making it useful for early game item replenishment. Procyon is described as kick-heavy and weak to grappling, suggesting players should throw them. Another monster, Mukupuda, is slow in both movement and attacks, but packs a powerful punch, warning players to be cautious of its strong single hit. The list continues, with various monsters like Doob, who uses poison gas and is weak, Mira, who is slow and has narrow intervals, and Murafin, who has special attacks when faced directly, advising players to attack from the sides. The list includes tactics for dealing with various enemy types, such as using throws against specific enemies, exploiting weaknesses to certain attack types, and adapting strategies based on enemy movement patterns and attack styles. It covers a wide range of enemies, from early game foes to more challenging opponents, providing hints on how to approach each encounter effectively in Hybrid Heaven. This page is a map analysis for the game Hybrid Heaven, specifically covering areas 1 to 3. It mentions that in Area 2, Johnny transforms into Dias to fight. The page details maps for Area 1 and Area 2, breaking them down into zones A, B, C, and D. For Area 1, described as a biological weapons storage facility, the story section talks about Dias being guided by a mysterious voice and encountering a single man. It lists the monsters that appear in Area 1 as Spica, Pollux, Sejanus, and Procyon. The Gameplay Master section provides tips on understanding the game's flow, emphasizing using cards for updates, barriers, and various switches. It mentions cameras and homing bombs appearing early on, and recommends practicing throws. Area 2 is described as Dr. Bro's laboratory. The story section mentions Dias being in an underground facility and learning about the existence of hybrid creatures created from human remains by scientist Bros, who unleashed giant monsters, guided by a mysterious voice. The new monsters appearing in Area 2 are listed as Nauhusu, Mikopuda, Gomaisa, Kitarufa, and Beto. The Irdun's chase section highlights that Irdun, a giant monster, cannot be defeated and must be avoided. It warns about taking damage if attacked by monsters during the chase, and advises using a shortcut in Zone B, accessible by going north from the room in front of Zone B's save point. This guide focuses on Area 3, the clone storage facility, in Hybrid Heaven. Players encounter new enemies like Mufrid and Black-Clothed Man. The area encourages a direct approach to the boss, Kevin, rather than cautious exploration. Players should prepare for the Kevin fight with around 500 HP. Zone G is recommended for experience grinding due to enemy respawns and its maze-like structure. The guide also presents 5 gameplay techniques. Aim for high battle ranks for better item drops, target specific body parts, use low kicks to control enemies, avoid overuse of throws and down attacks to conserve stamina, and utilize enemy respawn zones for experience. The next page is a strategy guide for Lode Runner 3D, focusing on conquering the difficult puzzle action in the early stages, up to World 3. It explains that the basic rules are the same as previous Lode Runner games, involving digging holes to trap enemies. The guide highlights enemy types to watch out for, specifically monks and flying monks. For monks, it advises trapping them in holes and retrieving any gold they may have picked up. Flying monks, however, cannot be trapped in holes as they fly, so the advice is to simply run away from them, as defeating them is difficult. The page also details a useful technique with the blaster, explaining that using it makes the main character move backwards 1 block. It cautions players to be careful not to fall into holes behind them when using the blaster. The guide concludes with a useful techniques collection section, emphasizing important gameplay tips for players to learn, especially for the more challenging later stages of the game. It also mentions this guide is for those who are new to 3D Lode Runner or veterans, and mastering these techniques will be essential. The game's release date is listed as July 30th, with a price of 6,800 yen. This guide covers Lode Runner 3D World 1, Stages 3, 4, and 5. Stage 13 uses the shuttle disc to navigate hazards and collect gold by strategically dropping bombs. Stage 14 demands speed. Players must reach the goal before blocks regenerate, utilizing the blaster and avoiding errors in the Helix lift section. Stage 15 involves bomb traps. Part 1 requires careful navigation through collapsing blocks and limited bomb range. Part 2 details how to obtain a 1 UP by strategically using 2 bombs, facilitated by the shuttle disc. The guide also clarifies that bomb explosions only affect blocks within a 1 block radius. Finally, the guide discusses how to induce bomb explosions with a slight delay, allowing for strategic use in later levels. It also warns against placing bombs on heated blocks, which explode instantly. This page from the magazine is a strategy guide for World 2 of Lode Runner 3D, highlighting common traps like pit launchers and dangerous pitfalls. It details specific level strategies. For Stage 223, it advises players to grab the gold near the start by quickly destroying the top block just before the pit launcher arrives, and collecting the gold after it passes to avoid getting trapped. In Stage 251, set in an underground area, the guide suggests collecting gold by destroying blocks with the pit launcher, but warns against getting too close and being trapped. Stage 254 is described as challenging, recommending players utilize 3 pickup locations to strategically attack and navigate the bomb zones by mastering timing. The guide then moves on to general tips, explaining how to use the block regeneration timing to your advantage by destroying lower blocks before upper ones. Finally, it describes how to interfere with enemy monk respawns, suggesting burying or defeating them, or even using them as platforms to progress. It emphasizes the importance of understanding block regeneration and enemy behavior for success in later parts of the game. World 3 of the Lode Runner 3D guide focuses on complex mechanics and potential for getting stuck. Snow Roads, Stage 334, teaches using bombs for snow removal to create paths and collect gold. Making Snow Roads, Stage 342, explains Snowmaker usage to reach bonus stages, involving road creation and Snowmaker deployment. Stage 351 emphasizes using two bombs strategically to break walls and create paths, stressing bomb timing. Using time difference, Stage 354 uses timed bomb explosions, advising patience if timing is missed. Section 6 details using enemies, specifically monks, to retrieve inaccessible gold, Stage 332. Section 7 warns to collect all gold before bonus stages, as missed gold cannot be retrieved later. This Turok 2 Seeds of Evil strategy guide focuses on obtaining the 6 primage keys required to complete the game by first gathering the 5 talismans. It details eagle feather locations, essential for acquiring talismans. Eagle feathers are found in pyramid structures in Worlds 2 to 6. The guide reveals the location of each feather, including the brown feather in World 2, found in a room on a slope. The guide provides boss battle strategies. For the King Blind, the strategy is to attack the environment initially, and then target its mouth, while avoiding its poisonous breath and insect enemies. For the Queen Mantis, the strategy emphasizes targeting its legs, forelegs, and then head, with the tail being the final weak point, dealing with swarms of insect soldiers beforehand. This page continues the Turok 2 Seeds of Evil strategy guide, detailing the locations and effects of the remaining eagle feathers from World 3 to World 6. The blue feather in World 3 negates damage from green rivers. The red feather in World 4 protects against lava damage. The purple feather in World 5 allows teleportation to high locations at specific points. And the gray feather in World 6 reveals hidden paths, described as soul paths. The guide then shifts focus to boss strategies, providing advice for the Mother and Primogen bosses. For Mother, the strategy is to target its arms, head, and brain, emphasizing the boss's weak points change during the fight. For Primogen, the recommended weapon is the shotgun, and the strategy is to defeat it quickly as it regenerates health, requiring the player to deplete its health 3 times to win. This page is a strategy guide for character acquisition in the N64 game PD Ultraman Battle Collection 64. It explains 2 main methods to get characters: Gashapon and GB Pack. The Gashapon method is like using a capsule toy machine, where you spend in-game currency to get random characters. It mentions that initially only Gashapon 1 is available, and more types become accessible as you progress in the game. It also advises that stronger characters are more likely to appear from higher-priced Gashapon machines. The GB Pack method involves using the 64GB pack accessory and inserting Game Boy cartridges. By doing this, you can unlock specific characters depending on the Game Boy game inserted. Examples of compatible Game Boy games are listed as Pokemon Card GB, Zoffy, Yu-Gi-Oh! Duel Monsters, and Ultraman Agul. And these games will unlock characters with the same names in PD Ultraman Battle Collection 64. Finally, a save and reset trick is detailed for the Gashapon. It suggests saving your game before using the Gashapon. If you don't get the character you want, you can simply reset the game and try again to avoid wasting in-game money. To efficiently develop characters in PD Ultraman Battle Collection 64, the guide recommends 4 key strategies. First, utilize the free gym immediately upon character acquisition to boost stats, but be mindful of the gym's limited 23-day availability and the character's condition, requiring rest. Second, prioritize resting characters to restore their condition after gym sessions, as poor condition hinders growth. Third, level up characters in the burn plane for efficient experience gain, even against weaker enemies. Fourth, change a character's type at level 3 or higher to learn diverse techniques, understanding that this resets the level and halves abilities. Mastering all skills of one type before switching is advised, with the beam type noted for strong techniques. The guide also provides brief strategies for specific monster battles. The next page presents a feature on Fire Emblem Thracia 776, a strategy role-playing game. It focuses on explaining the unit status screen, detailing the various combat abilities and parameters that define a character. Stats such as strength, magic, skill, speed, luck, defense, and constitution are explained in terms of their impact on gameplay. The page clarifies attack parameters including attack power, critical hit chance, hit rate, evasion, and range, and briefly describes the inventory system for units. This page continues the feature on Fire Emblem Thracia 776, diving deeper into the game mechanics. It explains the different types of maps you'll encounter, including normal maps, escape maps where you need to get units to an escape point, and defense maps where you must protect a location. It also introduces side story maps, which appear when you clear certain conditions in normal maps, offering deeper gameplay. The page then details the unit status screen, breaking down various aspects of a unit's personal data. This includes their affiliation, command ability indicated by stars, action rating, which impacts how easily they can act again, companions, movement range, fatigue, and status conditions. The weapon level section clarifies how proficient units are with different weapon types, ranked from E to A, with higher ranks indicating greater mastery. Finally, it highlights skills or special abilities units can possess, mentioning examples like guaranteed preemptive attacks, stealing, guaranteed critical hits, continuous attacks, defensive stances, prayer for luck, and support skills to boost allies. Fire Emblem Thracia 776 introduces 3 crucial strategic commands: Capture, Entrust, and Steal. Capture allows units with a higher build to imprison enemies with a lower build, excluding mounted units, allowing item acquisition. Captured units are vulnerable and can be used strategically. Entrust enables units to give items to adjacent allies with a lower build, excluding mounted units, for strategic item management, but the unit doing the entrusting will have reduced stats. Steal allows units with the steal skill to take items from enemies with lower speed, a guaranteed success when conditions are met. The document also mentions the Talk command, which allows certain units to interact with each other and can reveal dialogue and possibly lead to recruiting allies or obtaining items. This page previews the story of Fire Emblem Thracia 776, detailing chapters 1 through 5. Chapter 1, Fianna's Warriors, is a suppression map where you capture villages from Imperial soldiers, emphasizing individual attacks. Key characters introduced are Leif, Ivel, Othin, Dagdar, Halvin, and Tanya. Chapter 2, Coast of Isu, is also a suppression map where you must defend against sea-based enemy reinforcements using magic, featuring Ronan and Bacchus. Chapter 2, Side Story, Pirate Island, is a search map, the first of its kind, requiring careful movement in darkness with limited unit visibility, introducing Lephis, Shiva, and Safi. Chapter 3, Gates of Karubs, is a suppression map where enemies attack from multiple directions. You must divide your forces and protect a village from mountain bandits, led by Robos, and rescue children. Chapter 4, Underground Prison, is an escape map. Step. Starting without weapons, you must find them in treasure chests. Fergus, Corinne, Machua, and Darren are featured, and you need to escape the dungeon, relying on allied enemies for assistance. Chapter 4, Side Story, Wind Hero, is another search map where you must find invisible locations using clues, featuring Seti and Asvel. Seti uses powerful magic, and Asvel searches for other magic users. Chapter 5, Mother and Daughter, is an escape map focused on protecting Nana. Livid. Leif is used to distract enemies as you head to the arena. Raedric is trapped, and Wiseman returns as a stronger boss, while Merida appears to be manipulated. Featured characters include Nana, Raedric, Wiseman, and Merida. This page is all about the upcoming Game Boy games, Pokemon Gold and Silver, slated for a September release. It spotlights the Pokegear, described as an essential item for Pokemon trainers. This device, worn on the main character's wrist, functions as a clock, radio, and phone within the game. Breakdowns detail features like stereo speakers for radio and phone sounds, a display screen, an antenna akin to a real cell phone, a lamp that lights up for calls, and a cover for number input. A screenshot shows a Pokemon battle. The page also mentions various tournaments, including bug-catching contests, and notes that information can be accessed via the Pokegear. 3 trainers are introduced: the main character, a gentleman trainer utilizing effective tactics, and 2 older characters, Gunten and Hikifukiyaro, with Gunten seemingly important to the story, and Hikifukiyaro using Fire-type Pokemon. The page ends by questioning the total number of trainers revealed so far, stating that 8 have been identified at this point. This page continues to detail the Pokegear in Pokemon Gold and Silver, highlighting 3 key functions. Firstly, it acts as a real-time clock and calendar, displaying the current time and day of the week in the game world, mirroring the real-world time and day. This time aspect is emphasized as being crucial for gameplay. Secondly, the Pokegear allows for communication with trainers using a phone function. Players can exchange phone numbers with trainers they meet, and then call them or receive calls from them to gather various information. Thirdly, the Pokegear includes a radio feature, enabling players to listen to different radio broadcasts, similar to a real radio. These broadcasts, such as music programs like Pokemon Music and informational programs like Professor Oak's Pokemon Course, change depending on the day and time within the game. Finally, the page introduces character art of different trainer types: Miss Skirt, Fishing Man, Maikohan, and the Rival, each with brief descriptions or questions posed about them. This page reveals the groundbreaking discovery that Pokemon in Gold and Silver will have genders. This means that Pokemon can now be male or female, opening up new gameplay possibilities. The page explores three key aspects of this gender feature. Firstly, it questions if genders mean Pokemon can have babies, suggesting the possibility of Pokemon breeding and laying eggs, hinted at with an image of Togepi hatching from an egg. Secondly, it asks if there's a difference in strength between male and female Pokemon. Referencing Nidoran from previous games which had gender differences, it wonders if this strength variation will be present in Gold and Silver, using Pidgey as an example, and noting that visually, they look the same. Thirdly, the page considers how evolution names might change based on gender. It highlights Nidoran's evolutions into Nidorino for males and Nidorina for females, implying that evolution names could differ depending on the Pokemon's sex, and also mentions Oddish and its evolutions as another possible example. Finally, the page introduces some new Pokemon appearing in Pokemon Gold and Silver: Murkrow, Ampharos, Ho-Oh, Elekid, and Lugia. It notes Murkrow is a Dark-type Pokemon that appears at night, Ampharos looks like a Dragon-type, Elekid resembles an electric Pokemon similar to Electabuzz, and Lugia is mentioned as a rumored Pokemon for this summer, with its secrets potentially revealed in a movie. This page is a big promotion for the upcoming Pokemon Gold and Silver games, announcing a giveaway of 100 copies to lucky readers. Winners will receive the game on its release date. To enter, you need to send a postcard with your details and preference for Gold or Silver before August 6th. The page also mentions that Pokemon Gold and Silver will be playable at Space World from August 27th to 29th, and it's another chance to get Mew. There's also a spotlight on some of the new Pokemon appearing in Gold and Silver, including Ledybah, Marill, Togepi, Quagsire, Bellossom, and Spinarak. Finally, it notes the popularity of the Mewtwo Strikes Back Pokemon movie, which is now being released in America. This page showcases the upcoming N64 game Bang-I-Oh, a shooting game from Treasure, the makers of Mischief Makers. The page sets the scene with a dramatic storyline about a hot-blooded boy named Ricky and his sister, Mamami. Ricky is fueled by grief and anger after seeing his father defeated and seeks revenge against the Tiger Rhombus Heavy Industries. They pilot a mecha of justice called Bang-I-Oh, born from hacking. The screenshots display intense gameplay with vibrant explosions and a chaotic barrage of bullets, emphasizing the visual exhilaration and silly presentation that Treasure is aiming for. The text highlights that despite the wacky vibe, the game system itself is serious, promising a bullet hell experience unlike anything seen before for STG fans this autumn. Bang-I-Oh is scheduled for release in September at a price of 5,800 yen. The page also mentions that Treasure's games often focus on polygon graphics, sometimes to a point where people question the 3D choice, suggesting Bang-I-Oh continues in this vein. Bang-I-Oh for the N64 is a hyperkinetic 2D shooting game promising manly action. Players navigate over 40 stages using strategic shot types, homing and bounce. The game features an all-directional attack, a screen-clearing blast fueled by a gauge that refills with enemy destruction, and collected space fruits. Continuous combo weapon power-ups reward combos with Uzumaki marks, enhancing weapons and life recovery. Character customization offers numbing options with characters like Level San and Level Nizan, each with unique stats. Expect diverse scrolling stages and challenging boss battles utilizing terrain. The game aims to alleviate stress with over-the-top visuals and a quirky presentation, making it accessible even for newcomers to the genre. This page introduces Custom Robo for the N64, a game centered around customizable robot battles. Players build their own small robots from various parts like guns, bombs, and pods to compete in one-on-one combat within arenas called Holosseum. The game emphasizes strategic customization, allowing you to freely swap equipment to tailor your robot's abilities and playstyle. Battles are described as straightforward. Deplete your opponent's health, to 0 to win. It highlights the 3D stick controls for robot transformation and teases a story mode where you aim to become a super commander. The page showcases gameplay screenshots of battles in different Holosseum environments and customization menus, underlining the importance of choosing the right robot parts and weapons to suit your battle strategy. The next page showcases on and off racing for the N64, billing it as an exhilarating racing battle experience. This new racing game, inspired by Multi-Racing Championship, boasts course variations and diverse cars. It's set to release on September 24th for 6,800 yen. The game's core feature is the branching courses, offering a choice between on-road and off-road sections. On-road is described as stable and high speed, while off-road prioritizes shorter distance but less speed. Even within the same course, conditions change dynamically, with weather like snow and time of day like evening, impacting visibility and driving. This game apparently demands high-level driving skills. There are 4 game modes. Championship mode pits you against 9 computer-controlled cars across 6 different courses. Time trial mode is for setting fastest laps. Free run mode allows for practice and course exploration without lap restrictions. And versus mode enables 2-player split-screen racing. 8 unique cars are featured, each with distinct characteristics. These include the balanced MA Sara, the cornering-focused Miga, the powerful ENDUO, and the off-road Gripmaster DOG. Also listed are the King with its speed, the drift-oriented GP, the stable ALFA, and the large-tired Rover. Enter the Present Detective summer-themed giveaway for a chance to win N64 and Game Boy prizes. Up for grabs are several N64 games, including Star Wars Episode 1 Racer, J-League 1999, Perfect Striker 2, Roadrunner 3D, Hybrid Heaven, and Mario Golf GB. Game Boy Color titles include Spy vs. Spy and Beyblade. Also available are Kawa no Nushitsuri 4 and Bokuju Monogatari GB2. Non-game prizes include designated book cards, Bomberman Quest, a Game Boy, and various other items. To enter, send a postcard with a completed questionnaire and desired prize numbers by August 4th. Winners will be announced in the October issue. The page also lists the winners of the August drawing. This page is a questionnaire for readers to fill out and send back. It asks about the reader's gender, age, occupation, and their opinions on articles in the current issue. Questions cover topics like reading habits, ownership of Game Boys, and interest in the Nintendo 64DD. The survey also probes readers' expectations for the Dolphin, which is the codename for the GameCube. The page also includes a table listing articles in this issue. Notable games mentioned include Super Robot Wars 64, Ogre Battle 64, Mario Golf 64, J-League Jikyu Winning 11-4, international version is J-League Winning 11-4, Shadowgate 64, and Star Wars Episode 1 Racer. Other articles covered Densha to Go 64, Let's Take the Train 64, Hybrid Heaven, and Roadrunner 3D. Interestingly, there are also articles listed for Game Boy titles like Pokemon Gold and Silver, and even a SNES game Fire Emblem, Thracia 776. There's a feature titled Shigeru Miyamoto's N64 Soul, along with general preview and news sections. Finally, the From Editor's Returns section contains editorial notes discussing handling reader inquiries, summer holiday plans, work anxieties, and a wish for a future Game Boy with a camera function. Editors also comment on living with a partner and reader expectations for the N64 and this magazine. This page showcases hot game previews for 3 Nintendo 64 titles. First up is Ogre Battle 64, Person of Lordly Caliber, and a strategy RPG, reviewed by Ueno Hiroaki, who awards it a 9 out of 10. The review praises its deep legend system, strategic gameplay, and engaging story, highlighting it as a must-buy for strategy RPG fans. Next is PD Ultraman Battle Collection 64, a simulation game, reviewed by Takamizawa Yuji, giving it a 7 out of 10. This game lets you train Ultraman characters using data from Game Boy games. The reviewer notes, it's enjoyable for collecting and training characters, but lacks significant innovation. Finally, Star Wars Episode 1 Racer, a racing game, receives an 8 out of 10 from reviewer Sasaki Marina. The review emphasizes its high-speed racing, responsive controls, impressive graphics, and immersive sense of speed, recommending it even to non-Star Wars fans. At the bottom, Hasegawa, the editor-in-chief, provides a commentary, also scoring a 9 out of 10, which discusses the recent trends in RPGs, noting the large volume of titles and the increasing availability of online help. He suggests this game, potentially referring to Ogre Battle 64, or RPGs in general, is a solid choice for RPG fans. This page presents 4 game reviews. Miyakoshi Susumu reviewed Fighting Heritage FCUP Maniacs, Action 6/10, praising its varied attacks and character growth, but criticizing complex controls and limited playtime, recommended for fighting game fans. Susumu also reviewed Wipeout 64, Racing 6/10, noting its fun futuristic racing and 3D aspects, but finding it unoriginal and simple for experienced players. Ishikawa Kiyoharu reviewed Jikyu J-League 1999, Perfect Striker 2, Soccer 9/10, highlighting its smooth gameplay, new modes, and depth, making it a worthwhile purchase. Finally, Kiyoharu reviewed Roadrunner 3D, Puzzle 7/10, appreciating its 3D stage structure and puzzle aspects, despite some viewpoint issues. Considered a solid game. This page features reviews for 4 Nintendo 64 games. Densha de Go 64 receives a high score of 9 out of 10, with the reviewer Hiroaki Ueno praising the voice recognition system, the immersive train driving experience, and its appeal to both fans and newcomers to the series. Hybrid Heaven is reviewed by Yuji Takamizawa and scores an 8 out of 10. The review highlights its command-based action RPG gameplay, strategic combat, and balanced design, recommending it for its engaging scenario. Rally 99 is reviewed by Marina Sasaki and receives a 6 out of 10. The review mentions the variety of cars, tuning options, and course design typical of rally games. While enjoyable, it's considered an average rally title, lacking a sense of speed. Lastly, Shadowgate 64, Trials of the Towers, is reviewed by the editor-in-chief, Hasegawa, scoring a 7 out of 10. This review focuses on the 3D adventure game's puzzles, set in enclosed 3D spaces, its horror elements, and the challenging instant death traps, emphasizing the fun despite the difficulty and reliance on item use. This page is all about Mario Kart 64, featuring Shigeru Miyamoto discussing the game's appeal. Miyamoto explains the core concept of Mario Kart is to create fun beyond just simple racing, incorporating elements like jumps and item usage. He highlights the appeal of 4-player multiplayer on N64, mentioning Star Fox 64 and GoldenEye 007 as examples of 4-player experiences, and notes Mario Kart 64 as the first 4-player title for the console. Miyamoto's checks highlight 3 key aspects of Mario Kart 64. The pure fun of 4-player mode where you can see everyone's reactions, the dynamic courses with moving elements like trucks on Koopa Troopa Beach and cars on Karakara Desert, and the freedom in course design with shortcuts, such as the notorious Mario Circuit shortcut. Screenshots throughout the page showcase Mario Kart 64 gameplay with 4 players in action. This page is a beginner's guide to mastering Mario Kart 64. It provides 2 key techniques to improve your racing. The first tip focuses on navigating tight curves by repeatedly pressing the R trigger for drifting, which helps to maintain speed and corner effectively. The second tip explains how to use the mini turbo. By using the R trigger to drift and then quickly countersteering with the 3D stick, players can achieve a speed boost. The guide highlights the visual cue of the smoke, changing from yellow to orange, to indicate a successful mini turbo boost, encouraging practice to master the timing. Additionally, the page features a promotional section announcing a special gift, a copy of Mario Kart 64 signed by Shigeru Miyamoto, along with his personal game data. To enter the draw, readers need to send a postcard with their address, name, age, and comments on cornering in Mario Kart 64 and any questions for Mr. Miyamoto before the deadline of August 21st. Winners will be contacted directly and announced in the 9th issue. This page details cheat codes for Star Wars Episode I Racer on the N64. 4 main cheats are outlined, each requiring a specific password input during a new tournament. The RRDEBUG password unlocks the debug menu, accessible from the pause screen after entering the password in the name entry screen. RRJABBA activates invincible mode, also accessed via the debug menu. RRTHEBEAST unlocks mirror mode, reversing course layouts, again enabled through the debug menu. Finally, RRDUAL enables 1P's 3P play, allowing control with controllers 1 and 3, and controller 2 and 4, controlling the C buttons of the pod racer. Inputting passwords involves using the Z and L buttons. Screenshots illustrate the input process, and the text indicates completing the game with these cheats earns the title of Jedi Master. This page unveils secret techniques for two N64 games, Mario Golf 64 and Wipeout 64. For Mario Golf 64, it highlights three Urawaza, or secret techniques. The first allows players to restart from the first shot during gameplay, achievable by selecting Give Up, then Continue in the in-game menu. The second secret is changing a character's color during character selection by pressing the C buttons. The third secret allows players to switch characters to be left-handed by pressing the C buttons during character selection as well. Moving on to Wipeout 64, the page reveals cheat commands for invincibility and unlimited weapons. The invincibility command is activated by holding Z plus R plus L during gameplay, and then inputting the sequence C up, C down, C left, C right, C left, C right, C up. When successful, the screen will flash green. The unlimited weapons cheat is activated in the same way by holding Z plus R plus L and inputting C down, C up, C left, C right, C down, C right, C up. A green screen flash also indicates successful activation of this cheat. This page details hidden modes and secrets in various N64 games. In Neon Genesis Evangelion, difficulty settings unlock different modes. Beating the game on easy unlocks sound mode. Model mode is unlocked by clearing the game on normal difficulty. Completing the game on hard unlocks action and mission select modes. Ogre Battle 64, Person of Lordly Caliber features a music mode. Entering music_on as your name allows access to the music. Finally, NBA in the Zone 2 has controller input secrets on the title screen. Controller 2 inputs, while holding the right controller, unlock big head characters, colorful ball, and players' smaller features. The page concludes with cartoon characters discussing game secrets and magazine content. The next page features N64 and Game Boy titles with hidden secrets and features. For Star Wars Episode 1, Racer, there's a trick to view a demo mode in tournament mode by pressing Z and A together when selecting Race Start. Another secret for the same game unlocks the hidden character Sayunga by inputting a button combination in the Bullseye Navi debug mode at the tournament screen. Last Legion UX on N64 is highlighted for its Legion customization feature, accessed by pressing Z and R together on the Legion selection screen. Though it's mentioned, you can only observe the customized legions in motion, not control them. For GQG Stable, there's a horse naming trick. By pressing L, R, and A together at the naming screen, you can randomize the horse names. On the Game Boy side, Hyper Olympic Series Track and Field GB reveals two extra minigames, Sidestep and Touch Chip, unlocked by entering a specific directional and button input on the right side of the screen. Finally, Animal Breeder 3 on Game Boy Advance is discussed, revealing that by completing the 320 Animal Encyclopedia, 321 types of zombie animals will appear in the park within the game. There's also a section discussing a movie and encouraging readers to send in secrets and fan letters. This page is all about strategy guides. At the top, it's advertising a super complete strategy guide book for Ogre Battle 64, Person of Lordly Caliber. It boasts full field maps and strategies for every stage, claiming to explore the depths of Ogre 64. It's published by Dengeki Nintendo 64 editorial department and was slated for late August, priced at 1,400 yen plus tax. The guide promises to cover various data, scenario branches, story developments, analysis of tactics, and detailed world settings. There are also smaller ads for other strategy guidebooks, like the Dengeki Urawaza King, which seems to be a series covering secrets and tricks for various games across different platforms, from 19,992,000. One is specifically for the N64 and is called Dengeki Urawaza King Special Edition. There are also adverts for strategy guides for Pokemon Stadium 2 and Pokemon Pinball on Game Boy. The Pokemon Stadium 2 guide is advertised as covering both Omote and Ura sides of the game and all 151 Pokemon, and is described as an absolutely must-have winning book. The Pokemon Pinball Guide claims to teach you how to catch Mew. This page is an advertisement for the 7th Dengeki Game Awards, a competition focused on discovering new talent in game-related content across novels, comics, and illustrations. It highlights the grand prizes for each category, with the overall grand prize winner receiving 1 million yen and the gold prize winner getting 500,000 yen. Silver prizes are also mentioned, with winners receiving 300,000 yen. The page details submission guidelines for each category: game novels, game comics, and game illustrations. For novels, they are looking for original stories with a game feel, across genres like fantasy, science fiction, and mystery. Comic submissions can be story-based or gag/comedy shorts, with page length requirements specified. Illustration entries should be original works with a game feel and can be color or monochrome. Key dates are listed, with deadlines for each category in April 2000. The selection process involves multiple stages of judging, culminating in final selections in July 2000. Judges are named for each category, including novelists, illustrators, manga artists, and editors from MediaWorks. This page is an advertisement spread for several Game Boy Color titles. Front row is a racing game promising realistic car settings, 2-player link cable battles, and a world tour mode across 16 courses, slated for September 1999. Golf Daisuki Let's Play Golf is a golf game aiming to be accessible for all skill levels with 3D visuals and intuitive controls. Planned for release in autumn 1999. Burai Fighter Color, an action shooting game, is advertised for release on July 23, 1999. Lastly, Jelly Gem Monster is presented as a monster-raising RPG where players nurture monsters and collect gem fragments, also featuring link cable battles, and scheduled for July 30, 1999. This page is an advertisement for the Nintendo 64 game Lode Runner 3D. It highlights the return of the 80s classic in a 3D format, emphasizing enhanced puzzle elements and over 100 stages, including hidden bonus stages. The advert also points out the immersive 3D stereo sound and dynamic camera angles. The game is described as an action puzzle game and was scheduled for release on July 30th. The advertisement also features screenshots of the 3D gameplay and character art. Nintendo is launching its 64DD and online services, Enter Net Service, on December 1st, aiming for 100,000 members at launch. Member recruitment begins in autumn, following a Space World unveiling in August and a November starter kit distribution. The service will offer downloadable software and retail sales, primarily through mail order. Planned 64DD content includes games like Wall Street, a financial simulation, and Giant Dawn 1, alongside creative tools and expansions. Enter Net Services offers a variety of titles and applications, including a course creator for F-Zero X, graphical and video content creation tools, game and music makers, online versions of shogi and mahjong, a sports game, the latest installment in the Great Strategy series, and database services such as digital horse racing news. Mario Artist tools are also planned. This page discusses 4 key points about the Nintendo 64DD. Firstly, it explains the payment methods for the service, which include credit cards, in-store payments, and prepaid discs. Secondly, it assures users that the server setup is robust, mentioning that servers will be located in Tokyo and utilize Recruit's network expertise to handle a large number of simultaneous connections. Thirdly, the page introduces EPS as a format for digital publishing, envisioning it for electronic magazines where users can access race results and past horse racing data. This feature aims to offer services unique to the 64DD. Lastly, it touches upon game program distribution, suggesting that the service will offer additional game data downloads and potentially museum-like content, possibly even enabling SFC games to be played on the 64DD. It mentions that 16-bit games and SFC games might be playable on the 64DD via emulation. The article also highlights the connection between GB, Game Boy, and mobile phones, suggesting future GB models will have mobile phone connectivity for data exchange, hinting at a 32-bit class CPU in the next generation GB. The final section discusses the potential of the 64DD, emphasizing how it will bring new and interesting gaming experiences beyond existing consoles, offering compelling services and easily imagined content, while addressing the challenge of online communication and keeping costs low. This page previews Beast Wars Metals, or Beast Wars Transmetals, for the N64, a fighting game based on the animated series. It features robot, beast, and vehicle modes, encouraging strategic mode switching. A key feature is its link functionality with the Game Boy version, allowing players to use characters from the handheld game on the N64 via a 64GB pack, possibly unlocking special content. The page also includes a game ranking chart from June for N64, Super Famicom, and Game Boy platforms, highlighting popular titles like Mario Golf 64 and Pokémon Pinball. Finally, the page has an interview with Aya Hirayama, the campaign girl for Harvest Moon GB2, discussing her enjoyment of the series. A report and photo detail the TV commercial shooting for Harvest Moon GB2. The next page discusses upcoming games and news. It highlights the change for several planned 64DD titles: Super Mario RPG 2, Mother 3, and Kirby 64, to now be released on standard ROM cartridges. There is a preview of Wizardry Empire, a new original Wizardry series game for the Game Boy, emphasizing its improved graphics and smooth gameplay while retaining the series' dungeon-crawling elements. The page also promotes the release of Narrated 2 for the Game Boy, noting that the first edition includes a premium card and original medals as bonuses. An article mentions a prize for Puyo Puyo Wars on Game Boy Color, offering signed artwork from the developers. There's also a section about sexy dynamite bomber girls visiting the editorial department, which seems to be a promotional event, possibly for a Bomberman-related game. In the cutoff just before info section, it mentions that Narrated 2 TV commercials contain passwords for unlocking hidden characters in the game. There's news of a change in the publisher for Extreme G2 on N64, moving from Acclaim Japan to Taito. Finally, it mentions a new original scenario game being developed for N64, based on a Super Famicom AVG title. The bottom right corner advertises the GB Color Stick, a Game Boy Color accessory to improve gameplay comfort, and mentions a Tokyo Character Show event with discount tickets. This page is a celebratory edition of the Shioman manga, marking its second anniversary in Dengeki Nintendo 64 magazine, and also celebrating the fourth year of both the N64 console and Dengeki Games publication. The manga, titled Shioman's Essence, is running a special Uga Nashi Shioman edition. The page features comic strips with humorous scenes, one focusing on a female teacher's allure, and another on someone being athletic. It's a lighthearted and fun page celebrating the anniversaries. This page continues the celebratory mood with Shioman's Essence Manga Anniversary Special. The page features several comic strips with game-related humor. One strip humorously advises players to choose their in-game choices carefully. Another strip showcases the privilege of the main character. And another playfully warns against leaving the home base undefended, presented as game strategy advice. The page also includes anniversary illustrations for the manga's second year and Shioman color illustrations, maintaining the celebratory tone of the previous page. The next page showcases Star Wars Episode 1, Racer for the Nintendo 64. It highlights the game's release date as July 21st, and its price of 6,800 yen. The page emphasizes the game's 3D racing, 12-player capability, Rumble Pack support, Hi-Iris Pack support for enhanced graphics, and backup functionality. The advertisement boasts the game's high-speed racing at 600 miles per hour, through diverse courses, 2-player versus mode, and over 20 unique machines, with customizable parts to power them up. The bottom of the page advertises the Nintendo 64 Hi-Iris Pack, which enhances the game's graphics and is sold separately for 2,800 yen. This page is an advertisement for two games in the Choro Q Penny Racers Internationally series. The main focus is on Choro Q Hyper-Customable GB for the Game Boy Color, promoting it as a racing race game where you collect, customize, and battle with Choro Q cars. It highlights over 2,000 modification parts and items, and emphasizes the simulation race gameplay, as well as the ability to battle friends via communication cable to earn rare parts. The release date is stated as July 30th, with a price of 3,980 yen. The page also features Choro Q64 for the Nintendo 64, advertised as a super fun car action game that allows players to create their own original courses and supports up to 4-player simultaneous battles. This version is already on sale for 6,800 yen. Screenshots from both games are shown, depicting the customization aspects and racing gameplay. This page showcases adverts for 3 games from the Kemco Adventure series. Firstly, Shadowgate 64, Trials of the Four Towers for Nintendo 64 is advertised for release on August 13th, priced at 6,980 yen. It's described as an adventure game for one player. The tagline mentions Demon's Castle Shadowgate and defeat the ambitions of the Demon Lord Warlock. Next is Shadowgate Returns for Game Boy Color, also releasing on August 13th at 3,980 yen. It's a Game Boy Color compatible adventure game for one player. Finally, Spy vs. Spy for Game Boy Color is advertised for release on July 23rd, priced at 3,980 yen. This is a Game Boy Color exclusive action game, playable by 12 players, and supports communication cable 4 versus play. The tagline says, win against rivals and become a true spy. It is also noted as being color special and is advertised as the first Game Boy Color game to use split screen above and below.